Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Episode 162. So, we're playing a little bit of Super Mario Odyssey today on the Switch. I've been playing a decent amount of this. It was delivered to me on Thursday instead of Friday, which was nice. Shit. Always nice to get a game early. I wish that happened sometimes for a Soulsborne game, but okay. So I'm not the hugest Mario fan. Really, I'm not the hugest platforming fan in general. It's sort of a degree of dexterity and challenge that doesn't usually appeal to me in a great way. But I knew it would be pretty solid, so here we are. And I've been playing quite a bit of it, and it's a pretty good game. It is a pretty good game. I can't argue. It's kind of weird because you have like this really basic storyline that doesn't matter at all, and you go through all the levels, and then the storyline concludes. Like, you get an ending and you get credits, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, now the rest of the other half of the game is now available to you. It's kind of weird that way. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'd say it's better than, like, Super Mario Galaxy. It's good. It's very good, but, like, the Zelda series had been stagnating. It had its rough times, and then Breath of the Wild comes out after years in development for the Switch, and, it just blows me away. Just one of the best Zelda games ever made. Just really incredible. And so, yeah, maybe it was unreasonable to think that the Mario series would do the same thing. But it doesn't like reinvent the Mario series or anything like that. It's just a solid game. And it's enjoyable. I'm not gonna like 100% it or anything like that and get every moon and just play it for hours and hours, but for the playtime that I get out of it, it's pretty solid. I guess that's all I can say. For someone that never even like beat Super Mario 64, it's pretty good. Yeah, so that's that. This week on this channel, we played Skyrim, we played Shadow of War, as I said. One of the days I forgot to record something, so I just threw up a Spirit Tracks video, which was the last Spirit Tracks video, because that game is just garbage. That might be my least favorite Zelda game, which is saying something. And so I've already recorded a couple videos of Skyward Sword. And I haven't gotten to the first dungeon yet, so that's good news. But we're gonna continue chipping away at Skyrim and Middle-earth, and then we might just go whole hog on Skyward Sword, and that just might be more or less all you get for a while. I don't know. The Zelda series has been going on for almost 7 years. I feel like by the time I finish Skyward Sword, it'll be pretty close to 7 years, which is really bad. It's time for Zelda to end. Yeah, that's kind of about it. On the Exploring series, I uploaded the Redguard video, which, of course, is filled with all sorts of racist comments, as you might expect. But, I mean, you know, when YouTube thinks it's racist just to exist, you know something's up. Not much I can do about it. And then this week I worked on the werewolves video. Which I enjoyed working on it. There's some interesting stuff in there, but I don't know if the overall mythology is as interesting as the vampire video. Oh, they use the light now? That's smart. See, that's smart. I gotta try that. But surprisingly, artwork was a lot better for the werewolf video. Most of the people that draw artwork of vampires... Shit. Okay, we can make this work. Most people that draw vampire artwork, they draw it very, like, anime or romanticized or anything, you know, just sort of feminine, I guess. I think women artists are drawn more towards vampires, whereas werewolves, a lot of the artwork I found was really badass and just cool werewolves just tearing people apart. It's not, I mean, yeah, there's some sort of furry stuff in there as well, of course, but it was not difficult to find. I had an abundance of pretty badass werewolf art, which is always good. And then that will wrap up our October spooky stuff. Which has been good. And then we'll pretty much be focusing on Elder Scrolls towards the end of the year. Finishing up all the different races. And then I don't know if I can do a video. I mean, if I really want to milk it, I could probably do a video about each Daedric prince and stuff like that. If I don't want to milk it, I know I can do videos on some of them, but I don't want to leave anything out, so I don't know. But I don't want to do just one big Daedric prince video, because that's terrible. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff to cover in Elder Scrolls, you know, especially with each race getting their own video. That's been a production and a half. So there's plenty more stuff to do, which is kind of funny, like, depending on what people vote for a series to cover, like, it could be months of videos, or it could be, like, a month of videos. Like, I know people want Dark Tower, because that was a fairly popular option, and I was glad it didn't win at the time, because I hadn't finished reading the series, but now I've finished reading the series, which was, I mean, it was incredible book series. Definitely one of my favorites. Really just kind of heartbreaking at times, and it was really good. It was really good. But I don't know what people would want me to make videos on. I honestly am not sure. I mean, I guess, like, the Man in Black. Like, I'm sure you people will probably want a video talking everything about that, which, of course, for almost anything in the Dark Tower series, you kind of have to step a little bit outside of the series, since, you know, Stephen King cross-referenced and did all this all over the place. So, you know, Man in Black, Randall Flagg, Walter O'Dim, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same character. So that, okay, I can understand. But other than that, it's really just kind of like... videos that just kind of sum up the plot. You know, if I do a video on Roland, I'm really just summing up the events in the book, which I guess that's what I do. It just seems so weird for the Dark Tower, because it doesn't seem like... The thing with, like, Middle-earth, Tolkien, you know, it's such an expansive world. You know, there's so much that he put into this world, all these events and history and characters and all that kind of stuff. With the Dark Tower, you don't get much history. You get little glimpses here and there, and name drops happen and stuff like that, but the story really focuses on the main quartet, you know, Roland and his companions and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure what I would do. You know, if people want it, then it'll get made, but it wouldn't be my choice, even though I love the series. Anyways, so that's that. We can make it. We didn't make it. Alright, so let's see here. Board games. We had our spooky board game night, our annual end of October board gaming event that involves some horror themed or darker themed, spookier themed, whatever games. There were only 4 of us this year. We had a pretty light year for spooky board game night. And we, of course, played Letters from Whitechapel. That's sort of a tradition. And this is the first time that I have not played Jack the Ripper. I played pretty much every time we've done a one versus all game. I've had to play as the one. Pretty sure I've already done this. And so Ziggy played Jack the Ripper, and the 3 of us were the police detectives. And of course we lost. So far Jack is undefeated, which is impressive. It's just tricky. It's just tricky. He actually picked a really good hideout. You know, in Letters from Whitechapel, Jack the Ripper picks a secret hideout on this map, and he commits 5 murders across 4 nights. And his goal every night is to commit the murder and then get back to his headquarters, his hideout, without the police catching him. And so nice. He picked a really good spot because his headquarters was really like at a nexus of Whitechapel, where he could easily commit murders and then get back to his headquarters within like 5 moves every time. So that was really good for him. And so, yeah, you know, we had it narrowed down to the right region. But the problem is, when Jack can get from the murder site to his hideout within like 3 to 6 moves, you know, and he also has, every night he gets coach tokens, which let him move like 2 spaces at once in one go before the police can react. You know, we have to basically catch him within like 3 turns. That sucks. And that's pretty much impossible. Even if, like, we knew where his headquarters was, it would still be tricky. And we just had, like, a general idea of where it was. It was really tricky. Okay, I don't know how this is supposed to work. I don't know if I'm supposed to go for the coins. So yeah, he pretty much dominated us. We really, I think throughout the course of the game, we only got like 4 or 5 clues as to where his trail was. It was disastrous. But, you know, he earned it. It's just, oh, you fudged. See, that just doesn't appeal to me. That just doesn't appeal to me right there. But it was a fine game. It was a fine game. Then we moved on to Dead of Winter. We were either gonna play Elder Tour or Dead of Winter, and we decided to play Dead of Winter. Oh. You know, Dead of Winter, I've played like 4 or 5 times. I've never won, and it's never really inspired great reactions from anybody I've played it with. But you know, in the board game world, it was very, very popular. Very popular for a while. And I've always wanted to, you know, really wanted to play with a group that enjoyed it. We had a good time, and we could understand the appeal of it. But one person in my group just refuses to play it because he played it once. He doesn't even know why he doesn't like it. He just knows he doesn't like it. And so, shit. We've never gotten a chance to play it. But he was not at this event, so we decided to bust it out. We did have a hidden trader. It was unfortunate, though, because she was like the worst person to get the hidden trader. She didn't want it. And she really just didn't know what to do with it. And we could have played with the variant where you just don't have any trader whatsoever, and just everybody's on the same. It's a fully cooperative game, but I don't know. That just seems like, why not play Elder Tour then? So I don't know. It is what she did not win. Ziggy and I actually won. You know, Dead of Winter is a semi-cooperative game where, you know, you're surviving in this sort of icy Arctic environment. So you have to worry about, like, you know, having food for all the colonists, and fuel, and, you know, maintaining stuff. There's crises that come up, crises. And you can go out to these different locations, like a school and a grocery store, a gas station, and you can search for supplies and weapons and find other survivors and bring them back to your colony, so on and so forth. But there, of course, there's also zombies, and so you have to deal with the zombie threat as well. So, 2 for 1. And so there's a main objective that pretty much everyone has to sort of care about, except the trader, the hidden trader. If you're not a trader, you want to complete the main objective to win, but then also everyone has a personal objective as well. So if you're not a trader, you got to do the main objective and your personal objective to win. If you're the trader, you want the morale of the group to fall to 0, and then you also need to do your personal objective, which is usually more involved because you don't have to worry about the main objective. And so we did end up doing the main objective. We picked like the shortest, easiest starter one, and it was pretty easy. We didn't really worry about the main objective at all. And then my personal objective, I pretty much had completed by turn 1. So that was really no problem. It was really a surprisingly, shockingly easy game of Dead of Winter. Definitely the easiest I've ever had. Especially because the trader wasn't really doing anything, which certainly helps. And so yeah, there wasn't too many problems. I think we did fail a couple crises, but ain't no thing. And so Ziggy and I won because Phil sucks and couldn't complete his personal objective. His personal objective, I think, was to end the game with only a single survivor. And so he throughout the game he kept on getting these event cards that get you more survivors, which is usually good because they give you more dice to do things during your turn. So it's kind of nice to have more survivors. But that conflicted with his personal objective, and so he spent the later half of the game basically trying to kill off his survivors. Unsuccessfully. And oh, I already got it. I'm not even thinking. Yeah, so he tried to kill off his survivors because he didn't realize that he didn't have to play these cards that gave him more survivors. So yeah. So, I mean, you know, I finally won a game of Dead of Winter. I was happy about that. Obviously, it could have been more eventful if the trader was more involved and willing. But I enjoyed it. I certainly would play Dead of Winter again. It's got some... I don't know if it's better than Battlestar Galactica, and it kind of fills in the same gap, so it's hard to say, but it was decent. It was decent stuff. And then we played some cockroach poker, and that was kind of it. I think normally we would have gone on for longer, but we only had 4 people, and I think Ziggy was eager to play Super Mario Odyssey. So that is what it is. Not our most successful spooky board game night, but certainly a good one. Alright, so Call of Cthulhu. On Monday, we started Ziggy's one-shot. And, you know, a one-shot does not have to be one session, especially when you only play for, like, 3 hours. I think, you know, we sort of assumed it would be a 2-session scenario. Set in Louisiana in the 1920s. the Deep South. And so we had good old Sloopy Dunbar, motivational speaker, a book dealer, and a merchant mariner, I guess. And this group of 3 unlikely friends, associates really, we're heading down to Louisiana to pick up some artifact for some professor or something like that. Some pieces of the Vishnu, not Vishnu, but Vishen Franken, or I don't know, it was something like that. Fragments. Pretty simple though. Go down to Louisiana, pick this up, bring it back. All good. So we head down to Louisiana. And shit. We're supposed to, you know, we go there by train, and we're supposed to be picked up at the station by this, I think it was like a couple of people, that were going to hand off the fragments to us, and we'd spend the night or something like that, and then we'd be on our way. And we get off the train, and they are nowhere in sight. This couple is not there, their car is not there, blah, blah, blah. And we're in, like, some shithole town in Louisiana, like, in the swamps. And so we're not really sure what to do. So we decide to head into town to see if, you know, we can find anything, if anybody knows these people or anything like that, to see if we can't get this sorted out. I wouldn't have thought I could climb on a cactus, but here we are. And so we go into town, and the town is real spooky. It's like nighttime, the lights are going down, and it's like a ghost town. We don't see anybody, and except for one house has its lights on. So we head over there. And as we approach the door, a bunch of, like, wild dogs come out of the shadows and start growling at us. And so, fortunately, Sloopy Dunbar had some salami in his pocket. And so he enticed one of the dogs with it. And that bought us enough time, I guess, for the family inside the home to open the door, scare away the dogs, and let us in. And so this family was just some local Louisiana residents showing us some southern hospitality. And you gotta bring fucking Goombas out here? Jesus. Okay. I guess that'll give me time to chat. What am I doing? There it is. So Sloopy, of course, asked for some gumbo, and he was given gumbo, so that was good. And we talked to this guy about this couple, this family or whatever that we're supposed to meet with. And they apparently have like a mansion, or they have like a plantation or something in near town. And so he tells us that he'll take us out in his carriage tonight to go over there. So we finish eating our gumbo and cornbread. Sloopy gives the wife one of his authentic, genuine, autographed Sloopy Dunbar baseball cards. Only 100 were ever made, and he has all 100 in his briefcase. And so we get in the carriage, we head out there, it's cold, it's like gonna be raining soon. But he takes us out there to this big old mansion, and of course, you know, it's very creepy. It's a very creepy place. And so he pretty much just lets us off at this mansion. And we go knock on the front door. We call, you know, we call into the house, and it's completely quiet. We get no answer. It's very stereotypically spooky. And so we were like, all right, let's, you know, check out the grounds, you know, around the house, check around back, see if we can find anything, you know, what's happening here. And we find out that the back door has been sort of like smashed. Actually, I don't remember. I don't know if I remember if it was smashed out or in, but it was smashed. And so we head in and we find a couple of dead bodies in the hallway. Like, just with like massive bite marks in them and stuff. And so throughout this scenario, since we arrived in Louisiana, we've heard talk about Old Bill, especially, well, really from this guy that drove the carriage. Old Bill is this like legendary alligator or crocodile, whatever. This legendary crocodile that has a taste for you know, human flesh, and he lives right in the river nearby, and you know, they all talk about, you know, Old Bill, and how, you know, you stay away from the river banks at night because Old Bill will get you, and blah blah blah. And so Sloopy really clung on to this idea of Old Bill. And he's pretty convinced that Old Bill is responsible for what has happened here. God, how do you freaking reach there? So, you know, we find these bodies with these big chunks taken out of them, and so, of course, we assume it's Old Bill. And, of course, it's probably not Old Bill, but, you know, we don't know anything about Cthulhu mythos. Okay, what if I don't accelerate at all? Conserve your fuel. Okay, you don't even get close. So you want to... It's a timer, so you want to accelerate as much as humanly possible. So we decide, all right, you know, well, the murdered the bodies there belong to the butler of the house and his wife. Okay, and so we decide, all right, something is afoot here. We're gonna have to... I don't know if that's I must be missing something. I don't know how else to blow that up. So we decide to search the house and see what we can find. And so Sloopy pretty much spends the time drinking some brandy that he finds, and smoking cigars, playing the piano, lounging around reading like magazines and stuff. But then he finds an open floor safe in the library, and fuck. He finds like the deed to the house, some life insurance stuff, $1,000 in cash, and he also finds like some weird documents, some handwritten stuff that relates about some sex ritual to solve problems or something like that, which of course is like it's essential for completing the scenario. You know, it's obviously something occult going on and blah blah blah. But Sloopy just puts that aside and takes the $1,000 and he puts it in his briefcase full of baseball cards. He like squeezes it shut, and he's gonna try to sneak out of here and get back to New York with his newfound riches. That's his plan. Okay, the turning speed of that fucking thing is 0. I don't even know if that's what you're supposed to do, but... So he tries sneaking out, and of course, that's right when they're like walking downstairs, and sort of like, "Oh, Sloopy, what'd you find?" And there's like, no, that's not gonna work. Oh, it could work. All right, it could work. And so they pretty much found like a picture book filled with like erotic naked photos of like some older man and his daughter. I think like Thomas knew these people vaguely, and so he could recognize that it's a guy and his daughter. So something weird, real weird's going on there. And they eventually did find the documents that, god damn it, that Sloopy ignored. So we're sort of starting to uncover the mystery, but it's getting real late, and we pretty much searched the whole house. We didn't search like the rest of the plantation, the rest of the grounds and other places like that. But it's real dark out there. It's like raining, and so we're just like, all right, we'll do this in the morning. So we, of course, decide to spend the night. Oh my god, you have to be like fucking perfect. So Sloopy slips off to the guest house, where he can just sit there and count his money and drink his brandy and enjoy life. The other two, I think, stay in the main house. Oh my gosh. So rough. I don't know another way that I could get in there. This seems like the only way, but there's no margin of error, and that's tricky. And so the night goes by uneventful. Nothing happens. But in the morning, we're suddenly awoken. I wish I could just see in there. I'd like to know what's going on. It could be that this is not what you're supposed to do. And so we're woken by the sounds of like car doors slamming. And so Sloopy sort of like slinks out of the guest house and tries to creep around, and there's like a bunch of cops there. Alright, I don't think that's what you're supposed to. You can't do that. You're just gonna keep hitting. You're gonna keep hitting it. There must be some way to cure the poison, or I don't know. And so Sloopy tries to hide from the cop. He doesn't want to be seen, but you know, it's Sloopy, so of course he gets seen. And they're not here to, they're not here to arrest Sloopy or anything like that, because the guy that brought us here in the carriage is also with them, and so he vouches for Sloopy and the others, saying, they're okay. I brought them here last night. We found the bodies together. So really, all Sloopy cares about is not is keeping this $1,000 that's in his briefcase. He doesn't want anybody to know about it. He doesn't want to share it with anybody. He just wants to hold on to it and get out of here with his $1,000. But in order to keep Sloopy, you know, involved with the scenario, Thomas's character, the book dealer, the only way that I could conceivably see him knowing Sloopy in any capacity and bringing him along was if they were somehow related. And so we basically, like, through marriage or something like that, we're like distantly connected. Some relative of mine married some relative of his, and at the wedding or something like that, this book dealer unfortunately ran into Sloopy Dunbar. And so they have really, like, no familial connection whatsoever, but Sloopy has taken to calling him Uncle Puss, because his real name is, like, Octavius Puss. That's his character's real name, but Sloopy turned that into Uncle Puss. Even though Sloopy is actually a year older than this guy, that does not matter. He is Uncle Puss. You shits. What? Oh, that's interesting. They're doing this, but that doesn't affect it on my screen. That's weird. These races I'm just no good at. I don't know all these moves and how to incorporate them. Fuck. So I decided that, okay, you know, he's got this $1,000. That's way more than he's getting paid for doing this job with his uncle. Not uncle. But he's connected to this guy. You know, he's treating him like his family, like he's his real uncle or something. And so he's gonna stick with him as long as he's around. If Uncle Puss dies or something like that, Sloopy is gonna be making it out of there. Fuck! Damn shit. And so they checked out the bodies, and blah, 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 and I think that's pretty much where we kind of ended. We didn't actually do anything, like, really nothing crazy spooky happened, or out of the ordinary, strange. I mean, there's dead bodies, and there's the weird erotic picture book, and the ritual documents, but aside from that, there's nothing weird going on yet, but I think next session is going to be pretty wild. We'll see what old Sloopy can do about it to solve the great mystery. Or really, the goal is for Sloopy to survive and get out with his money. That's the real goal. But yeah, it's been good. Sloopy is really, he only works in Call of Cthulhu. You know, in Call of Cthulhu, it's okay to be kind of a useless, just moron. Well, for a one-shot. For a campaign, you would not want to play as Sloopy. But for a one-shot, he's great. So yeah, I think we're playing again on Wednesday or Thursday this week. And we'll be wrapping up that scenario. And then we'll be moving right into Funnel World in order to really, I mean, the only reason I'm doing Funnel World is because I'd read about it, and I had actually planned like a whole scenario that I was gonna run for the online group, and then that just never happened, and so I didn't want all my prep to go to waste. So we're gonna do it with this group, and it should be pretty fun. You know, you get to make random villagers that are completely worthless, more or less, and they get to try to take out a sort of like pretty much kind of a normal adventure. You know, they get to go into a dungeon, and they get to try and survive and solve a situation, but they have no real abilities. They're just commoners, and so it should be pretty entertaining. We'll see how it goes. That will probably take 2 sessions, maybe 3. I don't know. It depends on how slow they move through the scenario. They could be really, really cautious, but we'll see. And then on to Warhammer. Back to a campaign. Unless, I mean, if they really enjoy the funnel world thing, and they have characters that survive and they want to keep playing as the characters, I mean, I don't have anything against, like, just continuing that as a Dungeon World campaign. It can be up to them, so we'll see. Yeah, so that's that. Alright, I got some time here. Let's talk about horror movies, because we're at the end of October, and I'm never going to get to talk about it otherwise. I've watched a lot of horror movies this month. I would say it was an above average October for how many horror movies I watched. I mean, every October, I tend to watch a lot of old stuff, old favorites, and then I also try to slip in some new ones as well. And I think this month was pretty good for how many new ones I watched and the quality of the ones that I watched. I might have to actually bring up, like, a list. Okay, so Asian horror movies. I'm normally not a big fan of Asian horror movies because it's just a personal thing. I just find them generally to be too slow. I'm just a dumb American. I like my cheap thrills. Asian horror movies just tend to be very drawn out, very sort of emotional, really almost like drama horror movies. A bunch of the ones that I've seen, at least. Like, oh, I don't know. Like Audition. A lot of people talk about Audition as like this great Asian horror. And when I watched it, most of that movie is just talking and just emotional nonsense, and just, yeah, there are some crazy moments in that movie, and those are what you'll often hear about Audition, is like, just, oh man, that was so sick, and it was like, oh, but really that's like a minute of the runtime, and it's just, yeah, it was that, yeah, and there's been I've watched some others that just kind of felt the same way. Nice. But I watched a few. The first one I watched was The Wailing, which I want to say was Korean. Yeah, South Korean. So this one has been recommended quite a bit in the horror community. I saw it mentioned quite a bit. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 99% rating out of 71 reviews. It's widespread critical acclaim. And so this is like the first. This is like the first Asian horror movie I've watched in a while, and so I was wary, but I decided to give it a shot because of, you know, critical acclaim and everyone talking about it and blah blah blah. It wasn't bad. I'll say that it wasn't a bad movie, but it was certainly light on horror. And I think the horror that is there is meant to be very, like, emotional and I guess psychological, if you want to throw that term around. But I mean, for one, the movie is like 2.5 hours long. That's crazy. For a horror movie, that's crazy. And there are some parts in it that are engaging, I guess, that I was like, oh, this is really interesting, this is good, I like what I'm seeing. But at 2.5 hours, that does not hold through for the whole time. And so you just get bogged down with all this drama and this just nonsense storytelling that just did not grab me for most of it. The acting was good, but and the payoff at the end was just weak, and it was fine. I don't regret watching it, but 99% rating, that's way too high. I guess maybe my expectations were off because I expected like this crazy, like holy shit kind of horror movie, and that's not what it is. It's really meant to be more like a drama about this father and this small South Korean village and their troubles, and there are horror elements in it. Not bad, but I didn't love it. The other Asian horror movie that I watched was Noroi the Curse, I think it's called. It's Japanese found footage from 2005. And this one I've heard about for quite a while. For a number of years I've heard about it, but again, I've steered clear of Asian horror movies in general. But I finally decided to give it a chance because it was found footage. I've never seen, I don't think, a Japanese found footage film. Pretty good, actually. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. There's some really good mythology going on, and actually one of my favorite things in horror films is the faux documentary approach. You know, where they try to frame it as like a real documentary, and they have characters like actually talking to the camera and making it seem as if this was a real documentary about the footage that you're seeing. I really like that approach. Like The Tunnel, Lake Mungo, The Bay, of course, is one of my favorites. The Last Broadcast, and Noroi the Curse is pretty good as well. There's some crazy characters in there. It's pretty lengthy. I think it's around 2 hours. But there's some pretty creepy moments in there. And there's definitely some there's some scenes that are definitely unsettling. And the way that it's framed and filmed, and you have this sort of documentary approach to it, it gives it that sort of needed realism for some scenes that is just like, you know, it's like you're watching footage that was deleted. Especially one part, like nothing really crazy happens, but it's really just set as like a Japanese sort of variety show. And it's It's good. I liked it quite a bit. But the best Asian horror movie that I watched this month was I Saw the Devil, which is another Korean film. And it's really tough to say it's a horror movie at all. It's certainly more thriller than horror, and it has a lot of action in it. But this movie was amazing. Like, I've also heard about this for a few years, and definitely people have recommended it. It's got a very high rating and all that, but again, it's sort of lumped into the horror category. It does have that tag on IMDb, and so I didn't really think of it as like an action movie or anything like that, but it's very good. Very good. Just the way that it's filmed, all the acting, and just the plot line and everything that's going on, very good stuff. It's basically about this sort of, I guess he's like a secret agent or something like that. He's definitely he's better than like just your regular cop. He's definitely more skilled than that. And his wife dies. His wife gets killed by this just monstrous serial killer that the police have been unable to catch. He's really good. The guy that plays the serial killer is really good, and the guy that plays the secret agent is also really good. So the secret agent's wife gets killed by the serial killer, and the cops are just, of course they're useless. They just can't find this guy on their own. And so this secret agent goes on his own. He goes rogue to try and bring down this serial killer. And I mean, I'll spoil just a little bit from like the first third of the movie or something like that. He finds the guy. He finds a serial killer pretty quickly. And the serial killer is in the middle of like raping some teenage girl or something like that. And so suddenly, the secret agent shows up, and you're like, holy shit, he found him already? What the fuck is gonna happen? And I guess that's all I'll spoil as to what exactly goes on from there. But yeah, there's just a lot of like twists and, well, not really twists, but the plot is very engaging. Like you're kind of glued to the screen for the whole time. And the main thing of the movie is watching this guy who was really just like a stand-up guy, just a really decent cop type guy, and seeing his kind of descent, pretty much, but not in a way where you turn against him or anything like that. Not in a way where he is like the villain, but it's sort of seeing how far just. Not an ordinary guy, but a somewhat ordinary guy, how far he can go. And there are definitely moments in that film where you're going to wince. Like, there are moments where I was like, ugh, like, that looks like it fucking hurts. There's definitely some blood. But yeah, the acting, the cinematography, everything was really great. It's probably like, aside from like John Wick, it might be like the best revenge movie that I've ever seen. And it's definitely got more blood than John Wick. But it's kind of strange because I don't know if I really consider it a horror movie. I wouldn't describe it as such, but I did watch it during my horror month, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's I Saw the Devil. You didn't know anyone could stream Nintendo games? I don't know if I'm allowed to. Maybe this whole thing will get removed, but anyways. All right, what else? Let me just see what else I watched. Just as far as new stuff. Oh, I watched Devil's Pass, also known as the Ditlov Pass incident. I mean, I only watched it because I did all the research about Ditlov Pass, and I made the whole video about that, and I was like, all right, how much are they going to fuck it up? And, yeah, they fucked up a bunch. I mean, I did think it was cool that, like, over all the end credits, they used all, like, the real pictures from the incident and all that, with the original people involved in the expedition and all that. But there was, like, I don't know, like, one guy, like, from the original group that did the expedition over the pass or whatever, over the mountains, one of the guys did go back. Like, he left the group and he went back to civilization. He survived until, like, 2013 or 2011 or something like that. He lived for a while. And so that guy is, like, he's not in the movie, but the person that he's, like, that guy is portrayed in the movie, but he's, like, insane. He's, like, in a mental asylum or something like that, and he tries to scare off the people doing the documentary about the Dyatlov Pass. And they, like, change his name in the movie, and it's just like, okay, you're trying to protect this guy or something, but it's very obvious who you're representing here, so just, I don't know, it was weird, and they changed other names, and you know, you're watching... Like, I'd rather just watch a movie where they really tried to explain reasonably what happened there in some sort of plausible sense, but they just went so wild with it, and then it just turned out to be just kind of another whatever found footage horror movie, so pretty disappointing. I rewatched the Evil Dead remake, or the Evil Dead sequel, I guess, whatever, the newer Evil Dead. I saw it in theaters, and it just pissed me off so much in the theaters that it pretty much, like, as soon as the credits hit, I just stood up and walked out. Just because it seemed to just copy so much of the old ones, but just kind of crapped on it. I just did not like it for a long... I just didn't even think about it for a long time, but I finally rewatched it. I gave it an honest chance, and it is a decent horror movie. There are some good effects in there. There's some good stuff going on. It's not incredible, and there is definitely stuff that just... It's like, why don't I just watch, you know, Bruce Campbell doing stuff? But it was all right. I watched Gerald's Game, which recently came out on Netflix, starring Carlo Gugino and Bruce Greenwood, based on a Stephen King story. Pretty good. Again, not very horror-ish. It's like a horror movie that my parents could watch. Like, if I was going to recommend them one horror movie, it'd probably be Gerald's Game. It's pretty much about this woman who gets tied to a bed, and then her husband, like, dies next to her out of a heart attack, and so she's there tied to a bed with no way to get out, and no one's coming to rescue her, and it's like, you know, what she goes through. It was all right, but not really. It was, again, sort of just drama and emotional stuff, and she does all this remembering about when she was a teenager and her dad, like, raped her or whatever. But anyways, Hell House LLC, another found footage movie, actually really good. I actually really liked Hell House. There's a lot of cool effects in there. It's got a real creepy atmosphere. Again, there's a bit of that sort of fake documentary tone to it, about this haunted house, that there was this incident where when this haunted house opened, like, a bunch of people died and nobody knows what happened, and the ending was weak. I think they sort of fucked that up, but for most of the movie, I actually really liked Hell House LLC. I think that might be it. No, I watched Wrong Turn 2. So every October I watch the first Wrong Turn movie. It's honestly, like, one of my favorite horror movies. It's just a fun horror movie. Which there aren't many of those that I would consider a fun horror movie, because it's sort of, you know, the sort of opposite concepts of horror and entertainment, of just, hey, this is fun. Sort of a popcorn horror movie, but, you know, there are deaths in the movie, but they're not really that gruesome. And, you know, I like the characters, I like the story, and it's just an entertaining film for me. And so I did a Mang's movie, some of you may remember, on, like, the 5th or 6th Wrong Turn movie, and it was just absolute shit. And so I've avoided the rest of the series after the first one. But I finally decided to give the second one a chance because a lot of people say they like it better than the first one. I would not say that's the case for me. The second one, it just felt... I think it was like straight to DVD or something like that. It just felt so cheap. I'm not sure. There was some quality to it that was just wrong. And I didn't really like most of it. The only thing that I really liked about it was Henry Rollins. Or Rollins. I have no idea. One of the two. He plays like this retired Marine colonel or something like that. And the premise of the movie is that these people are doing like a reality show survival type thing, and he's like in charge of it, and so he's the one giving all the directions and stuff. But of course, the cannibals show up, and so he becomes such a fucking badass in that movie. Like, he kills just a slew of them. I don't know if any character in any of the other movies get a high of a kill count as he does in that one, but he is just a badass in that film. He's really the best part. I don't know if I can recommend it just based on that, but it was certainly a redeeming factor. Yeah, I really thought I watched more new horror movies than that, but I guess not. I mean, it was a decent roundup. There's probably some stuff I'm forgetting about. But yeah, it's been a good month. I've enjoyed a lot of horror movies. All right, so that's going to wrap us up for today. Check out the Werewolves video tomorrow to really get you in the Halloween mood. We got some more Skyrim and Middle-earth on the way. And don't worry, because there's going to be plenty of Zelda in the near future. But my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.